What if I told you that right now, at this very moment, your body is aging faster than it needs to? And what if the things slowing it down are not some expensive supplement, not a secret drug that only billionaires have access to, and not some ancient ritual buried in a monastery in Tibet, but three surprisingly ordinary things that science has finally confirmed actually work? Because here is what most people get wrong about aging. They think it is inevitable, unstoppable, written in their DNA like a sentence with no way to rewrite it. But the latest research is flipping that belief completely upside down. Scientists have now identified three specific things that measurably slow down the aging process at the cellular level. And by the end of this video, you are going to know exactly what they are, why they work, and how you can start using them today. Welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, this is the place where we take the most fascinating discoveries in science and health and break them down into something you can actually use in your real life. Today, we are diving deep into the biology of aging, not the surface stuff like wrinkles and gray hair, but what is actually happening inside your cells, inside your mitochondria, inside your DNA, when your body starts to age. And more importantly, what you can do to slow that process down. Now, before we get into the three things, I want to give you a quick foundation so that everything makes more sense. Your body is made up of trillions of cells. Every single one of those cells has a kind of biological clock built into it. It is called a telomere. Think of it like the plastic tip at the end of a shoelace. Every time your cells divide, those telomeres get a little bit shorter. When they get too short, the cell stops working properly, starts sending out inflammatory signals, and eventually dies. This process is called cellular senescence, and it is one of the primary drivers of aging in the human body. Now here is the exciting part. Scientists have discovered that certain behaviors, certain lifestyle choices, and even certain environmental factors can dramatically slow down how fast those telomeres shorten. And three of those things in particular have the strongest scientific backing of anything studied so far. So, let's get into them. Number 1. Exercise, but not the way you think. Most people hear exercise slows aging, and they roll their eyes. They have heard it 100 times. It feels like advice from a health class poster. But the science behind why exercise slows aging is genuinely incredible, and the specifics matter enormously here. Because not all exercise is created equal when it comes to your biological age. A landmark study published in the European Heart Journal followed thousands of people over several years and compared their telomere length based on their exercise habits. What they found was remarkable. People who did endurance exercise, things like running, cycling, and swimming, had telomeres that were significantly longer than sedentary people. But here is the twist that most people miss. The group that showed the most dramatic anti-aging effects was not the people who ran marathons or spent hours in the gym. It was the people who combined moderate endurance exercise with high-intensity interval training, what most of us know as HIIT. The reason comes down to an enzyme called telomerase. Telomerase is essentially the body's repair mechanism for those aging shoelace tips we talked about. It can actually rebuild and lengthen telomeres. And the research shows that a combination of steady-state cardio and short bursts of high-intensity effort is one of the most powerful natural triggers for telomerase activity ever discovered. But exercise does not stop there in its anti-aging effects. It also activates something called autophagy, a process where your cells essentially clean house, breaking down old, damaged components and recycling them into fresh, functional parts. Think of it like your body's internal garbage disposal system. When autophagy runs efficiently, your cells stay younger, function better, and live longer. Exercise, particularly fasting combined with exercise, is one of the most reliable ways to activate autophagy. And on top of all that, exercise reduces chronic inflammation, which scientists now believe is the single biggest driver of accelerated aging across almost every organ system in the body. Inflammation is so central to aging that researchers have actually coined a term for it, inflammaging. And exercise is one of the most effective anti-inflammatory interventions that exists. So what does this mean practically? You do not need to run ultramarathons. You do not need to spend 3 hours a day lifting weights. Research suggests that as few as 3 to 4 sessions per week, combining about 30 minutes of moderate cardio with 2 or 3 short intervals of higher intensity effort, is enough to meaningfully activate telomerase, trigger autophagy, and reduce inflammaging. The key is consistency over intensity. Showing up every week matters far more than going absolutely all out once a month. Thing number 2. Sleep, the biological reset button. If exercise is the gas pedal for slowing aging, sleep is the garage where your body actually does all the repair work. And the science here is even more urgent than most people realize. We live in a culture that treats sleep deprivation like a badge of honor, like staying up late and grinding is somehow admirable. But what is actually happening in your body when you chronically undersleep is genuinely alarming from an aging standpoint. A study from the University of California found that even a single night of partial sleep deprivation, getting around 6 hours instead of 8, was enough to measurably increase markers of cellular aging in the participants. Their immune cells showed patterns consistent with being several years older than their actual biological age. Just one night. Now imagine what years of poor sleep does to your cellular biology. During deep sleep, specifically the slow wave and REM stages, your body releases a surge of human growth hormone. This hormone plays a critical role in cellular repair, tissue regeneration, and metabolic regulation. It is not just for building muscle, it is fundamentally involved in keeping your cells functioning at a youthful level. When you cut your sleep short, you cut off the majority of that nightly hormone release. You also disrupt the clearance of a protein called amyloid beta from your brain, the same protein that accumulates in Alzheimer's disease. Your brain has its own waste clearance system called the glymphatic system, and it is almost entirely active only during deep sleep. Every night you skip deep sleep, you are allowing more biological waste to accumulate in your brain tissue. And then there is the cortisol connection. Poor sleep dramatically elevates cortisol, your body's primary stress hormone. Chronically elevated cortisol accelerates telomere shortening, increases systemic inflammation, disrupts insulin sensitivity, and breaks down muscle tissue. It is one of the most potent aging accelerators that exists in human physiology. And poor sleep is one of its biggest triggers. The good news is that fixing your sleep can reverse many of these effects relatively quickly. Researchers have found that getting 7 to 9 hours of high-quality sleep, meaning sleep that actually cycles through the proper stages, can reduce inflammatory markers, improve hormone profiles, and even show measurable effects on telomere length within weeks. The practical habits that help most are keeping a consistent sleep and wake time every single day, including weekends, keeping your bedroom cool and completely dark, avoiding screens for at least an hour before bed, and limiting caffeine after early afternoon. These are not revolutionary ideas, but the science behind why they matter is genuinely profound. Sleep is not laziness. Sleep is the most powerful biological anti-aging process your body has access to, and it is completely free. Thing number 3. A specific pattern of eating. Food is the third piece of this puzzle, and this is where things get genuinely fascinating, because the research has moved far beyond the simplistic idea of just eating your vegetables. The specific dietary pattern that has the most robust scientific evidence for slowing aging is not a trendy diet. It is not carnivore, it is not keto, it is not any of the things that dominate social media right now. What the science actually points to most consistently is a pattern of eating that shares two major characteristics. It is rich in polyphenols and antioxidants, and it incorporates some form of time-restricted eating or caloric restriction. Let us start with polyphenols. These are plant-based compounds found in things like dark berries, green tea, dark chocolate, olive oil, and colorful vegetables. Polyphenols activate a family of proteins called sirtuins, often referred to as the longevity proteins. Sirtuins regulate cellular health in an extraordinary number of ways. They repair DNA damage, They regulate inflammation, they influence metabolism, and they are directly involved in extending the lifespan of cells. One of the most studied polyphenols is resveratrol, found in red grapes and certain berries. Another is quercetin, found in apples and onions. Another is EGCG, the primary active compound in green tea. All of them activate sirtuin pathways and have been shown in laboratory and human studies to reduce markers of cellular aging. But even more powerful than any individual polyphenol is the practice of time-restricted eating. This is not about starving yourself. It is about compressing your eating window so that your body has an extended period each day where it is not processing food. Research from the Salk Institute and other leading longevity labs has consistently found that eating within a window of 8 to 10 hours, say, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. or 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., activates many of the same autophagy pathways that exercise does. When your body is not busy digesting food, it turns its attention inward and starts cleaning up damaged cells and cellular debris. It also gives your insulin levels time to drop completely, which reduces the chronic low-grade insulin resistance that accelerates metabolic aging. The combination of these two things, a diet rich in polyphenol-dense whole foods, combined with a consistent eating window, appears to have synergistic effects on longevity pathways that neither approach achieves as powerfully on its own. A large study tracking more than 4,000 people over a decade found that those who followed a Mediterranean-style diet with natural time-restricted eating patterns had biological ages estimated to be 4 to 7 years younger than their chronological age. That is not a small effect. That is the equivalent of rewinding the clock by nearly a decade just through consistent food choices and meal timing. Bringing it all together. What is remarkable about these three things, exercise, sleep, and a specific eating pattern, is how deeply they interact with each other. Exercise improves sleep quality. Better sleep reduces appetite dysregulation and makes healthy food choices easier. Better nutrition provides the raw materials your body needs to repair muscle tissue after exercise and to maintain the hormonal balance that supports deep sleep. They form a biological feedback loop, and when all three are working together, the anti-aging effects compound dramatically. Scientists who study longevity call this kind of multi-system synergy a hallmark intervention, meaning it addresses multiple root causes of aging simultaneously, rather than just patching one symptom at a time. And these three things together form the most evidence-backed, accessible, and affordable version of that hallmark intervention that exists today. The people who live the longest in the world, the populations studied in what researchers call the blue zones, do not take exotic supplements or undergo cutting-edge medical procedures. They move their bodies regularly in natural ways, they sleep deeply and consistently, and they eat mostly whole, plant-forward foods within natural daily windows, dictated by daylight and community rhythm. Science did not invent these habits. Science just confirmed what these populations had already figured out over generations. Here is what I want you to do right now. Not tomorrow, not Monday, right now. Pick one of these three things and commit to improving it this week. Just one. If your sleep is chaotic, commit to a consistent bedtime for the next 7 nights and see how you feel. If you have not exercised consistently in months, commit to 3 30-minute sessions this week that include a short burst of higher intensity effort. If your eating is scattered across 14 hours of the day, try compressing it to 10 hours and see what changes. You do not have to overhaul your entire life overnight. The research actually shows that small, consistent improvements in these three areas compound over time in ways that massive, unsustainable efforts never do. Progress over perfection, always. If you found this video genuinely useful, do me a favor and hit the like button. It helps more people find this content, and honestly, it just tells me you want more of it. And if you want to go deeper on any of these topics, the science of autophagy, how to optimize your sleep stages, or the specific foods that activate sirtuin pathways the most, subscribe to the channel because we cover all of it in depth. There is a new video every week, and every single one is built around taking the latest science and translating it into something you can actually use. And finally, drop a comment below. Tell me which of these three things you struggle with the most. Is it exercise, sleep, or your eating habits? I read every single comment, and your answer genuinely helps me decide what to cover next. Because this channel is not about me talking at you, it is about us figuring out together how to actually live better and longer based on what the evidence actually says. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one.